Joining me now is Women's Forum Australian CEO, Rachael Wong. Rachael, let's start with reports that Labor and the Greens in New South Wales are rushing through legislation introduced by Greens MLC Dr Amanda Cohn to expand access to abortion in New South Wales. A rally protesting the move was held earlier this evening. What do you make of this bill and the push to get it through the New South Wales Parliament within the next week or so? Why is there such a need for this urgency?
Look, Rita, there is no genuine need or level of urgency whatsoever. This is not a necessary piece of legislation, quite the opposite. We already have abortion for any stage, for any reason in New South Wales. And I'm quite frankly really confused as to why the New South Wales Labor government finds it necessary to align with the Greens and support the Greens on such a radical piece of legislation.
Well, what will be the changes if this goes through? If the abortion is already available at every stage of pregnancy and readily available, what is this legislation going to do?
So the big thing that this bill will do is make doctors and hospitals who are opposed to abortion for medical, ethical or religious reasons, it will force them to violate their conscience and be involved in ensuring abortion in New South Wales, ensuring access to abortion. And so that aspect of the bill has been talked about quite a lot, the freedom of conscience issue, which is a big one because obviously freedom is a very important right for Australians, and we shouldn't be forced to do things that we believe are morally or ethically wrong. But another aspect of the bill that hasn't been talked about quite so much is the way that it will put women at grave risk. So at the moment in New South Wales, medical abortions can be performed, but they need to be performed by a doctor. This bill will expand the legislation to allow nurses and midwives and other unnamed health practitioners to perform medical abortions. And the idea that Cohen has is that this will allow women in regional and rural areas to have better access. But the reality is these women that Cohen wants to help are the women who are going to be most at risk from this legislation, because these are the women who have less access to medical support and help if they have adverse complications following a medical abortion. And as we saw come out of the US last week, the biggest study on medical abortion to date has shown that more than 1 in 10 women experience adverse reactions, serious adverse events, including life-threatening events following medical abortion. And this just has not been something that's communicated to women the way it should be in terms of the risk involved. And expanding abortion in this way is extremely dangerous and irresponsible.
Now, Rachael, worrying vision has emerged of Australian Electoral Commission officials instructing Family First candidate Ray Rancy to stop promoting her anti-late-term abortion policy at a Victorian polling booth. They say that they had complaints. They had 3 complaints. One of the video shows. Let's have a look at a couple of these interactions.
We have had a number of complaints that you have been using disruptive rhetoric, talking about killing babies was the one that came to me. I am just here to ask you to tone it down. If you do not, and we continue to receive complaints, we're going to have to extend.
How many complaints have you had?
We've had at least 3 complaints that I have
Talk
heard.
about late-term abortion.
Ma'am, I am not here to get into politics. I am just here to give you a warning.
I'm a candidate. I'm allowed to say my policies.
If we continue to get complaints, I will have to take further action. That's all I'm saying.
What will you do to me?
We will have to call the police.
You're going to call the police on me?
If this continues to escalate,
if I keep
then yes.
mentioning my late-term abortion policies.
If you continue to disrupt voters, do you understand?
I understand what you're saying, but I don't think you have that power.
I definitely do.
Just that point for now. If I can please ask.
What can I say then? What can I say? Our
Everything
policies?
else, every other of your policies.
I'm not allowed to mention abortion.
Just for now, I've had some complaints, and I just want to run it up the chain.
Okay,
if you wouldn't mind.
All right, thank you.
Rachael, that's one of her policies. How is she not allowed to talk about it because 2 or 3 people have complained? Can I go and complain that I don't want Greens candidates talking to people because their global warming scaremongering is upsetting the children? It seems absurd that a candidate can be silenced in that way.
Absolutely insane, Rita, and honestly quite terrifying for Australia. And as you point out, there is 100% a double standard here. This is literally one of the bodies that has been tasked with safeguarding our democracy, and to see them shutting down a candidate's freedom of speech during a federal election, I think is just absolutely atrocious. And of course, Australians are free to oppose her views and they're free not to vote for her, and they could have done that or not done that, as the case may be, inside the polling booth. But, late-term abortion, this is not a fringe issue. We had bombshell revelations coming out of South Australia last year, in Queensland as well, about how babies are being left to die after late-term abortions, to the degree that there was a bill put forward in South Australia which only lost by 1 vote to protect babies born after 28 weeks. And there have been horrific stories by midwives who have, had to see babies being left to die after these abortions. And so this is a genuine, policy that has obviously been put forward in good faith to deal with a genuine issue that we're having in our society. And, it's not acceptable for these Electoral Commission staffers to have shut this woman down. I think there needs to be an investigation into this kind of thing happening especially during elections. And, look,
Absolutely.
It's clearly something that is reflective of a broader issue in our culture and our institutions when it comes to censorship.
And just before you go, Rachael, I want to play you this footage of Teal MP Zoe Daniel, or former Teal MP Zoe Daniel. You can add her to the long list of supposed women rights campaigners who can't tell you what a woman is.
You seem to have done a lot of stuff for women, is that right?
Sure, and gender equality was one of my central issues at the last campaign.
What is a woman, though? Can you define it?
I think we're done.
They continue to treat it like it's a gotcha question. Rachael Wong, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Rita.